Indeed we do. So from mother and cub to the presumed father, the spots that are in the tree with a dangling carcass is not Imvula like I was talking about this morning, but is indeed Tingana. Now underneath him is also one of the uncles for that little cub, and no, not her brother, but little Hosana is down at the bottom. We can't see him at the moment. He was moving around in the bottom there just now, but he can't see him. He's busy sleeping, and as you can see, Tingana is also fairly fast asleep as well, with what looks like a female impala carcass that he's eaten quite a bit of already. But for any of you that were worried as to whether Tingana is able to move, that goes to show right there that if he can climb a tree and get to food like that, then his paw is definitely on the mend, which is exciting stuff. Now, before we go any further, I'm just super excited that because of all the people that have kind of joined me in trying to look for Thandi, I think Scotty's put in the most work out of all of us, and so he really did deserve to see it, and I'm excited that he got such an amazing visual. Actually, Ferg and I were watching the live broadcast from here because we're right near Chitwa, and so we get good signal on our cell phone so we can watch what's going on, and it was so cool to see. That little cub is amazing, and Scotty had the most epic sighting, so I'm super happy for him. Like I say, he thoroughly deserves it, and Senzo too. Senzo has been with me through countless leopard sightings, and I know he enjoys them. He used to be a lion-only man, but we're slowly but surely starting to convince him, which is good news. But you can see Tingana is just facing us. Every now and then his eye opens because this hardy-dar that is shouting at him and Hosana, the two of them are obviously causing this hardy-dar to be a little on the upset side, so lots of shouting there, which is just making Tingana kind of pop his head up every now and then. But he looks very happy and very comfy with himself, and I'm sure he's absolutely delighted to be having a meal. But there you can see it's definitely him now that he lifts his head like that. That is the typical Tingana face, that kind of elongated face, and then, you know, the way that he just, I don't know, there's something about him that just indicates Tingana when I see him. Interestingly enough though, he seems to be super tolerant of Hosana. Now, I know he's got a kill, and he's lying on top of it, but I haven't seen him once growl. Hosana has been moving around at the bottom, and he hasn't at all made any noise or done anything to indicate that he's upset that Hosana is actually even anywhere nearby. It's an amazing relationship that Hosana is somehow managing to try and kind of figure out with Tingana, and the fact that Tingana is being so sort of allowing, I don't know what the word is, relaxed with Hosana is pretty incredible. Mia, you're wondering when Tingana made this kill. Uncertain. It looks like he's eaten quite a bit, so I'm not 100% sure. He was spotted this morning with this kill, so whether or not it was last night or yesterday, I can't be sure. He seems to have eaten something. What is interesting is that there was also tracks for a female here, so I have a theory that maybe Kuchava was here, and theoretically maybe he stole it from her, because her tracks apparently are going up and down. I've heard some guinea fowl alarm calling a little bit further to the east of us, and so maybe he stole it from somebody else. Maybe he made it himself. Like I say, very difficult to say, and we're quite far away. They're quite deep inside Torchwood, so this is the closest we can get to where they are, and it's difficult to say how much meat is actually on that carcass. I mean, I can see a neck and I can see two legs, but the legs have definitely been fed upon, and so I don't know how much of the rest of the body is actually been eaten. Hosana himself only arrived just south of the boundary, slowly moving northwards towards this area. So he's not the one that killed it and Tingana stole it. It's more a situation, either a female killed it or he it maybe a day or two ago and is fed off it. I know that he was seen 2 days ago on Little Gowrie, and so it's got to have been either last night or the night before. It can't be before that, because where he was seen was quite far from this area. Also, that meat looks as though it's fairly fresh. There's a nice red tinge to it, which yesterday was quite warm and windy, would have probably dried that out a little bit, and you would have seen something like we saw with the impala kill. Mr. Gohan, you're saying, is Tingana still tolerating Hosana? Well, evidently, yes. The fact that Hosana is sitting at the bottom of a tree while Tingana sits there and sleeps is pretty tolerant, if you ask me. There's no aggression whatsoever. If somebody like Quarantine came here, or Anderson, or that new male, I can tell you that Tingana's reaction would be far different. He wouldn't just sit up there sleeping. He would be growling, he would be hissing, there would probably be a lot of salivating, because he would realize very quickly that that would be a major threat to him. Whereas in this particular particular situation. He doesn't have to worry at all. I think he knows Hosana is still a younger cat and that he doesn't have to be too stressed about it, and that's why he allows it to happen. At the end of the day, Hosana is still much smaller than Tingana and is also not marking as much and just doesn't pose the same threat. But somewhere in there, he moved off a little bit to the right, I believe. So the guys that were there said he was at the base and then just moved slightly right into that thicket and is lying down somewhere there. So he's just in the base there somewhere. Well, maybe we'll get a visual of him just now. But the fact that Tingana is sitting there not growling is a good indication that he is fairly tolerant of his son at this stage, which is amazing to me because it's not like Hosana is with a mother. It's not like Hosana is not a small leopard. You know, I mean, not a small leopard. He's getting bigger and he is scent marking. And so I would have thought Tingana would have been a lot more kind of aggressive in his approach. But as you can see, he's absolutely fine with what's going on. In fact, he's more interested in us than he seems to be looking down at the leopard below where he's sitting. So interesting behavior. It will be interesting to see how it all plays out. I feel like at some point Tingana is going to put his foot down. The lack of a mother to protect Hosana and the way that he is so brazen on kills, maybe that's the secret. Maybe because Hosana is just so brazen, Tingana just doesn't really know what to do. And maybe if Hosana started to cower and started to try and sneak away, maybe they would make Tingana chase him. Difficult to say. Joy in Hong Kong, you're asking if we can please see Hosana. Like I just explained, that we are south of Torchwood, and so that is a property we cannot go into. That is an area that we do not have traversing, and so at the moment I'm sitting on the boundary and I have a very long distance visual. If Fergus zooms out and comes back to me, you'll see just how far away this leopard is. And so when Hosana lies down and goes onto the ground, it is impossible for us to see him at all. So this road here is the boundary. Unfortunately, Chitwa on our right, Torchwood on our left, and so we can't go northwards. We're just lucky that he's up in the tree that we're able to spot it. But if Hosana moves around and maybe comes out a little bit, we might be able to see him. But from where we are now, unfortunately, it's impossible to see where he is. And I know that's not ideal. Hopefully it would be nice to actually see him and see his little face again, but he's still too far away and too tucked up at the moment. But let's see. You never know. Hosana is a curious cat and he likes to move around, so we might see him kind of somewhere on the ground moving or coming up onto one of the trees somewhere to the sort of sides of where Tingana is. But at the moment, unfortunately, that's the view we've got. There's not much more I can do about it. There is in no way any sort of other way to actually see either of these individuals. Right, well, we'll sit and we'll be patient. Maybe Hosana will make an appearance. I hope so, Joy. So don't go anywhere. And while we sit and wait for the appearance of Hosana, let's go all the way across to Ralph in the Mara, who's got some other spotted creatures, but not quite as pretty as these guys. Right, so I believe that Ralph is starting to make his way home, so hopefully he will have a good evening, and I'm sure he's absolutely loving his time in the Mara. Now, you can see that Tingana still is kind of surveying his territory. No sign of Hosana just yet. I was actually trying to get hold of some of the other guides and just trying to see where exactly Hosana is from where we are, but I believe he's slightly to the east of that tree. So what I might do just now is I might just reverse back slightly and just have a little look. You never know, maybe we get a glimpse of him to see him, but you never know. Other thing that is interesting is straight to our east down this road, is if you follow this road all the way to close to the Kruger boundary, is Quarantine is also around. So 3 male leopards within the space of, I would say, 2 kilometers or about just over a mile, and there are 3 of them all placed not too far away from each other. So it'll be interesting to see if Quarantine comes from that side and starts moving back in this direction, and whether or not there will be some sort of scrap over this area. I haven't seen Quarantine just yet move in this direction. I don't think he's ever pushed quite as far as where we are now, but he definitely is slowly but surely moving and coming this way. So it's interesting to see and wonder what's going to happen. I'm just watching the other car just to see where they position, because maybe they can see Hosana somewhere there, and maybe we'll get lucky and be able to see Hosana's head just pop up. There's a vehicle that's just driving in underneath and kind of repositioning themselves to be able to see the leopard in the tree, and I was thinking that maybe somewhere their little ears will just perk up and kind of come out of the grass, and we'll be able to see this little cat as well. I suppose I can't call him little anymore. He's now completely massive and is getting this julep and is developing as a big individual. And we do have new blood on the block, so that's our little one now, is the little cub of Tandis, and so Hosana and Tamba, I'm afraid, are now going to be relegated into the sub-adult category, and are going to be starting to kind of be called and referred to as no longer our little ones, but as our medium boys that we've got. I wonder what sex that little cub is as well. I don't know if anybody was able to work out what sex it is. Be interesting. I'm really hoping for a little female. That's what I'm hoping for, because we really do need females. We've got such a nice supply of males at the moment that another little female on Djuma just vanished and we don't really know where she is. It would be just nice to have another little female that comes into the Djuma area, and at the end of the day it would also be the prime age by the time it develops into sexual maturity to take over from a Tandi or a shadow in this area, because both of those individuals are fairly older females and you never know how long they're going to be around for. And so, you know, if you get a female that, well, this little cub, let's say it is a female, and it makes it to 3.5, 4 before it starts to basically mate and have cubs, and so 4 years from now Tandi and Shadow would be, you know, close to 14, 15 years old, which would be very old for a leopard. Now, Monique, you're wondering, any news of Tamba? I'm afraid not. The last I heard of Tamba was, just trying to think how many days ago it was, and it wasn't that long ago. It was, I think, about 5 or 6 days ago, maybe even less, I don't know. But the last time I heard of him was he was with Hosana on a kill together. They were busy sharing a kill, and so he is around, but he seems to be hanging around a lot in the nets and vessels, which is two properties to the south of Chitwa and Little Gowrie. So that's where they lie, between Male Male and Little Gowrie and Chitwa. And so he's kind of in there, and apparently every now and then crossing just onto that northern section of Male Male, which is a difficult section to look around in. I was speaking to one of the guys that knows Male Male very well, and he says that area is incredibly difficult to negotiate, and there's lots of rocks and thick, dense thickets, which is perfect for a leopard. And so maybe that's where he's going to be ending up positioning himself. But it's sad that we're not seeing him as much as we were. I suppose there's just so much pressure in this area at the moment that it had to give for one of our young males. Somebody had to make space, and Hosana, being slightly bigger and seemingly so much more brazen and careless, has just, well, not careless, that's the wrong word, but so much more kind of doesn't really seem to care if anybody is around. He just approaches everyone and seems to just drifted southwards back into sort of Male Male in those areas. Be interesting though where he ends up. I just hope wherever he goes that I'll be able to follow him, because he is my favorite, and it certainly is sad that we don't get to see him nearly as much as what we did over September, October time, where he was almost a daily fixture for a few weeks. So hopefully he will come back. Now, I'm not sure if our comms are working. I just heard Faith very briefly talking in my ear, which means that I don't know if things are going according to plan, or hopefully they are. It's sometimes our comms get a little bit funny, particularly if I'm under power lines, which I'm under at the moment. These are the main power lines that run from the lodges and supply the power systems for Chitwa and Nkoro and Cheetah Plains and the likes to the east of us, so sometimes interferes a little bit. So, didn't spot Tingana first. Somebody else spotted Tingana this morning and told me where it was roughly. Now, as we drove up, it was quite clear. It's once you kind of know roughly where you're looking, it's very easy to kind of make out that silhouette from a long way away. And the angle that we're at now doesn't really give it away as much. If you go back down the road a little bit, you see the legs of the impala dangling very easily silhouetted against the sky. So it's a fairly easy spot, actually. Funny enough, it looks really difficult, but it's actually really easy when you away, and the angle of the tree is slightly different. It's more of a broadside, and so you can actually see that big lump on the tree itself, and that makes it really easy to spot him. So somebody else did spot him this morning, but at that stage we were with the Birmingham males and trying to find Tandi's den, which this morning I was saying that I was frustrated because I don't know where she goes, and well, the answer has been made very clear this afternoon, is that she has a little underground tunnel that she disappears into, and so all the times we've been going there, seemingly she's been there, and we just haven't really noticed. So it's a lesson in in that we need to be a bit more patient when we go to places like that. But it's a fine balance as well, because I also don't want to spend too much time there when Tandi's not around and, maybe attract any unwanted attention to where that cub is. So you can't really stick around forever, but we definitely needed to be maybe a little more patient this morning, and maybe Tandi would have come out and we would have seen the little one. But I'm, like I say, glad that Scotty is there and being able to experience that. So Sherry from Rhode Island. Sherry, you're wondering what is the average lifespan for a leopard? Well, Sherry, if we look at the female leopards, the average lifespan is slightly longer. So they normally are around sort of 15, 16 years old. Maybe, 15, 16 is about the average lifespan. There are extreme cases where females will go close to 20, but that is very extreme, but most of the time 15, 16. And in the males, it's normally around 12 to 14. And the reason why the males are slightly shorter, it's not because they are, built differently. It's more because of the way that their life is. A female leopard gets a territory, she kind of holds that territory, and she has her cubs, and her territory will shift as younger females kind of push in, but she's not as confrontational as what the males are. The males are highly territorial and have a lot of pressure from younger males that are trying to secure places for themselves, and so you find that the males tend to fight a lot more, and that means that they tend to injure themselves and do all kinds of things, and then also become nomadic when they're older, and that means they run into all kinds of other predators that are outside of their territory. So that's why you tend to find sort of the males live slightly shorter. Right, so from Daddy Leopard, let's go back across all the way to Scotty and see if his offspring is still out and about with the beautiful Tandi. Indeed, well, our father is still sitting guarding his carcass as best he can and keeps moving his head, so we try to reposition slightly to get a better view of his head, which was draped over the legs where his paw currently is, but he's now promptly moved his head and is now got it right behind a branch. I'm sure he'll move around again. We're also just trying to see if we moved up and down a little bit, maybe we'd get lucky with Hosana somewhere around there, but we still can't see him. He's apparently just off to the right hand side. He's not far at all. He's about, they say to me, about 15 meters from that tree to the right hand side, but unfortunately there's a fallen over tree that's blocking our view completely, which is that fallen over tree. So somewhere there is where little Hosana is, and hopefully with Tingana shifting in the tree, that might cause Hosana just to come and investigate a little bit, and maybe he moves into this area. There is also a really nice big termite mound where we had Tingana a few weeks ago or month ago, and I'm hoping that maybe Hosana goes up onto that mound, and then we'll have the best of both. We should be able to then see either the young male or the older male, and that will be really, really nice. So hopefully that all plays out into to stay patient in order to see Tingana. In fact, actually, Ferg, can we try one more other angle? Just hold on, Ferg. I just want to try one other angle quickly. Palin, you say you also like sleeping on your food. Palin, I want to ask you a question before. Hold on, let me just position quickly before we get into this, because I want to ask you, Fergus, how's that? Is that actually okay, or better, or not? Have you got a branch, Fergus? That's no good. And if I go a bit more forward, I just feel like there was a nice gap there to his head. So I'm just trying to see. Now, Palin, don't to know. How's that, Fergus? What have we got from that angle? I know there's a few bushes around. Just let me know what we've got. This might be a process of back and forward. Also just thinking, viewers should vote. Viewers can vote. Okay, let's try it. See what we get here. Oh, that's not great. There is not a very good view at all. Right, well, we'll go back to where we were, because that's not great at all. But Palin, I want to ask you, when you sleep on your food, is it more that you kind of unprepared food that you cuddle that's still in the packaging and you kind of use it as a pillow, or is it face plant like Taylor McMuddy that goes face first, or is it like me where you just grab the food and roll, and just so that other people don't get it and fall out of vehicles? And which one is it? I would like to know, because it's interesting to me, because I've never met somebody that likes to sleep on their food. Fergus, do you sleep on your food? No. So I'm not sure about this, and I want to know exactly how it all works. Now, Fergus is telling me to look. Oh, there's a nyala that's coming in. Oh, this is very exciting. Hold on, Fergus. Let's just reposition ourselves. There's a nyala that's going to walk right under the tree, basically, towards where Tingana is. So I want to just go back, because we'll have a nice view on the road itself. This is interesting. I wonder why these nyalas are walking this way. Malin, you say it makes it easier for you to eat when you wake up. Fair enough. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but I'm still intrigued as to how you sleep with it. Is it already prepared, or is it just the ingredients altogether that you just... And what is your favorite food exactly, Fergus? That is a good question as well. What is the food of choice that you like to cuddle and sleep with? And like I say, is it prepared already, or is it something that you make when you wake up, or how does this all work? And maybe it's a new way of doing a beauty face mask, is that you kind of sleep with it on your face, and then you can just, take it off in the morning and you can eat it. I really don't know. I suppose there's some people out there that are chocoholics that might dip their face in chocolate, and then they can just break off bits of chocolate through the night and eat that. Who knows? I'm not sure. I don't know of anybody who sleeps with their food, so I am very intrigued by this whole thing. But it is a fascinating concept, and I suppose if Tingana does it, maybe we should all be doing it. I don't know. Maybe we need to go back to our instincts, and maybe sleeping on food is the way forward. Sharon, Hosana is here because Hosana likes to make friends. He's a bit lonely sometimes, and so he tries to kind of just move around, and you'll find that for some reason he just likes to follow other leopards. I've never really seen this in a young male leopard, but he just, wherever there's other leopards, Hosana seems to be there. And I think there's two reasons for it. One is he was obviously left quite early by Karula, and I think there's this kind of need to try and just sort of bond to various individuals, because he hasn't quite fully fledged yet, and he hasn't quite got this whole process of being a dominant male down pat just yet. The second thing is that I think he sees an opportunity for food, and while with Tingana he's not probably going to get too much, although that's not necessarily true, because we had that amazing sighting of Tamba, Hosana and Tingana on Chitwa airstrip, where all three of them fed in the same area. I think he often can steal food, though, from Shadow, Tandi, even Tamba to a degree. He can get food away from them, and that's why he's also going there. It's an easy meal, and when he becomes a big male leopard, they do it a lot. I've seen big male leopards robbing countless different females of their carcasses, and like I say, this carcass right here might have even been that situation. So it's an interesting thing, but that's why I think he's here. Is one, because it's an opportunity for food. Two, because he's just a little bit kind of, maybe lonely is not the right word, but he's almost craves that kind of companionship, and I don't think he quite knows where he fits just yet, because he hasn't really been chased by his mom. His mom just disappeared, so he hasn't had a situation where mom has kind of just pushed him away. There you go, the nyala that we were talking about, into the thicket, and so it's difficult to know. No, I think the nyala is completely moving away now, and oh, this is very interesting. Take care, you say once when you were a student, you fell asleep on a kebab. Was it a chicken or beef kebab, firstly? And secondly, take care, I want to know, had you consumed any apple juice prior to falling asleep on your kebab? Or was it just a case where you were so tired from being so studious and doing such a lot of studying that you just passed out on your textbook with your kebab in your mouth? But while you ponder that, take care, and I give you some time to answer. Let's go back across to Scotty D, who strikes me as somebody who would never waste a morsel sleeping on it, and would probably guzzle it all down before it even gets anywhere near to bedtime. But hopefully our Ellie will be alright. They'll go down to Chitwa Dam and probably have a good drink and maybe calm down a little bit. Obviously something has irritated them prior to us even going there, because they were already streaming from those temporal glands, but they seemed fairly relaxed while we were parked there. But obviously us following them was just not what they felt like, and so that's why they've told us, and hopefully they stay down that way and don't come up the side. Also, like I say, could be due to the fact that the leopards are around and they picked up their scent. Paul, sorry, we were almost answered your question as to what is the sort of oldest that they can reproduce before I got so kind of engrossed in being charged at by a elephant. But Paul, I mean, the oldest that I know of females having young ones is in their late 40s. So if you have a situation where they get a little bit kind of older than that, when they start getting to 50, then they'll then start to stop producing. But when they're still in their mid 40s, they are able to produce, and it also depends on the female. Some females are having a situation where they will grow and last a little bit longer. So in the Mara, the average age, I would imagine, is much older than what we have reproduce a little bit longer than what the ones down here in the Sabi Sands do. But you can see he's just watching in that direction. Now, I don't know where Hosana went at all. He seems to have been somewhere in this general vicinity, and so maybe he's just moving off in that direction. It's also where the Nyala went. So, Kate, who's 78 years old, you say you've just joined us, so welcome to the Safari Live family. It is a family, and hopefully you are loving every little minute of being out on safari with all of us. And as you can see, you've come on a great day, because not only has there been an elephant, which has been quite exciting, but we've also got the beautiful spotted shy cat that is a leopard, and they really are my favorite animals. So anytime I can spend time with a leopard is a very, very big pleasure and treat. And this particular leopard is a little hidden at the moment. He's slightly north of our boundary, and so he's sitting up in a tree, and you can see the two legs of an impala carcass. So he's managed to find himself a meal, and they will hoist them up into the trees like this so that they can get them away from the prying jaws of hyenas and various other predators that we get in this area. And so that's why he's up there. And there is also a second male leopard. So I was talking about Hosana. Hosana is a young male leopard who is the son of this male, this big dominant male called Tingana. And Hosana has come in, and it's because he lost his mom fairly early. His mom disappeared. We don't know what happened to her, and so he's kind of been following other leopards quite a bit. Although he's able to hunt for himself, he still kind of craves this companionship, as well as it's sometimes an easy meal if he kind of follows them around. Sometimes something drops, or he's able to steal it from females now that he's a lot bigger. So he's also in this area, and so it'll be interesting if he does come out. And what we're hoping is that we will get a view of our little prince, because Hosana is part of what we call the royal family here, which was a female leopard called Karula, who was the kind of queen of Djuma, and she reigned strong for 12 years, produced countless cubs, and was really one of the most successful females probably that I've ever heard of out of any of the cat species. She only lost one cub, as far as I know of, in her entire life, and so, you know, she's done exceptionally well to have raised all the rest. And she had in total, I'm just trying to count them now, but she's had, I think it's 12, or is it, I think it's 12 cubs in total. So she really did incredibly well. I'll count them now and just make double sure, but it's somewhere around there that she had. So 6 litters, which is incredible for a female, and only to use one of those is absolutely phenomenal. So that's a little quick brief synopsis of our leopards that we get in this area, and particularly the one that we are looking at the moment. You can see he's got his eyes fixated on something. Like I said, the Nyala went in that direction, so maybe that's what he's looking at. He also could have heard the commotion of the ellies kind of coming towards me, that he might have just looked in that way. Although he's not looking southwards, he's looking more to a sort of northwestern direction, which I would say is probably more the Nyala that are walking around in that area. So, Vanessa, you say you've been watching these live safaris for the last 3 days, and you subscribed, and it's become your addiction. Well, welcome to you, and you have joined a large club of people that are all addicted to Safari Live, and including myself and Ferg. The reason we're out here and showing you all of this is because we're also addicted to the concept of being able to bring this to all of you. All the way around the world. Some people that maybe never will be able to get to Africa can still be a part of it, still feel like they're part of a family, and to be a part of a story that is greater than all of us is a very special thing. And so it's a very warm welcome to you, and I'm glad 3 days. You've had entertainment not only from animals, you've had entertainment from guides if you were watching yesterday morning, and well, you've also had the most epic few sightings, because yesterday and today have really been spot on in terms of as good as it gets, particularly from the South African side. The Mara has also been fantastic, but here in South Africa, in Djuma, we've been absolutely spoiled by the sightings that we've had over the last 48 hours. So I'm glad that you have joined when you have, and hopefully we will see you on many drives to come, and that you'll ask us many questions as you go along on your Safari Live journey with all of us. Right. Now, I'm going to carry on with our leopards and see, like I say, I'm going to try and get a visual of Hosana at some point. I'm not quite sure where he is, but hopefully he'll make an appearance. But while we sit here, let's go back across to Scotty Dyson, who's got those two. Well, Scotty, I don't know if I'm a professor, that's for sure, but I have giggled at listening to you trying to explain archives and whether the drives are all in order. That has been quite entertaining, because I know Scotty and his technological capabilities, he's very good with a lot of things, but understanding computers and archives and those kind of things maybe not the best, nor am I, to be honest. We need Wiem for this conversation, because Wiem is the one that does all of these kind of things and knows exactly how it all works. Now, you might be wondering why I'm just turning around in a circle. It's because I was just checking for Hosana as I'm going, but while we're trying to check for Hosana, because I'm just looking along this fringe to see if I can just see his head, maybe something just to give him away that we can see, but alas, there seems to be absolutely nothing at this stage. So getting into there comes another herd of elephants. So we're not going to try that again, because the last time I saw elephants crossing there, I got myself into trouble, so we'll leave those to do their own thing. But let's get into the sort of coalitions of lions in this area and who potentially could be a threat to the Birminghams. So the Birminghams have got no pressure really at the moment. There's no male lions currently coming in, roaring, scent marking, south, north, east or west of us that really can oppose these Birmingham boys. At the moment, the Birmingham boys are far too big a coalition, being 4 of them, and far too strong in this particular section for anyone just yet. That's not to say somebody won't come along and there won't be a coalition that will come in here and maybe give them a challenge. They are going to have their hands full when the Mangan Pride, which I believe was on EP today, and they have 9 males that are just under 2 years old. They're going to be a real handful if those 9 males still stay together. They're going to cause a lot of havoc. So they will have threats at some point, but for now, nothing. They went into Male Male. Male Male, they had a bit of a kind of interesting time there, because the Matsupiri males were the ones that were dominant there. The Avoca males, which could have also been a potential threat, are only 2. They've gone down to the south of the reserve and are around Sabi Sabi, Kirkman's, Lion Sands, those areas. The 2 Charleston boys are also south down there. And then you've got the 3 aging Majingalans. Now, the Majingalans are really getting quite old now, and so they're not going to push back north here for anything. They're going to stay down in the west where they've been, and really they aren't really going to be competition for these 4 Birminghams. The 4 Birminghams are big, bulky individuals now, younger, and so I think the Majingalans, even though they've got experience, would really have a tough time to deal with these 4 Birminghams at this stage. So that means that there's really very little. There's also another coalition of 5 males right down on the southern fringes of the reserve, but the chances of them pushing all the way up to this area is very slim. They're really big animals. They really dominate a massive area, so they're not going to extend that much further. They're pretty happy where they are down on the Sand River. So really the Birminghams at the moment have got a clear run, which is fantastic. We need them to, and so it's a great thing that the Birmingham coalition is not being tested, because it's allowing the Nkuhuma Pride, the Styx Pride, the Torchwood Pride to start to grow again. Telematis as well, for maybe, I'm not sure if their cubs come from the Birminghams, but potentially. It's allowing all those prides to produce cubs and to raise those cubs to an age where they won't be seen as cubs and therefore killed if a new coalition came in. And it's what's needed, because this area has gone under such an amount of strain with male lion coalitions. We had the males in the beginning that, let's say, just start from the Mapojos. We had Mapojo. It's really not a long time for cubs to be raised, and so that's why most of the prides in this area have actually decreased in size rather than grown. So the Birmingham coalition and the reign that they have at the moment is vitally important for our lions, and we need them to go untested for a little while longer. And like I say, who knows what will come out of Kruger? Maybe another coalition will come, but at this stage they are completely unchallenged. There really doesn't seem to be anybody that is capable of kind of pushing them out as yet. Right, well, let's get one last view of Tingana, who's still sitting up in his tree. No sign of Hosana yet. Hosana's keeping us with bated breath. I think he might make an appearance. Maybe tomorrow morning we'll come here and Hosana will be around. It's worth coming and checking tomorrow morning. I don't think we might see him now. I was hoping with all the commotion of elephants and nyala and vehicles that he would come out towards that little gap at the base of the tree, but he hasn't. So Hosana is MIA for now. We know he's there, but we will hopefully catch up with him in the morning. It's a good reason for all of you to come tuning in tomorrow morning as well, because Tingana, I'm sure, will still be there. It looks like enough meat to keep them there overnight, given that he's got a nice round belly as well. Right, well, we're going to probably start heading home, and we'll pass the baton on to the other professor of things that are not technological, Scotty D, to say goodbye to all of you.